Hey everybody, it's Christian Butzek, Real Estate Weekly. Thanks for tuning in. So today's topic here is Strata Documents Explained. If you're a buyer or you're thinking of buying a condo here in Vancouver, you're going to want to get a list of documents about that building and about that condo unit. Now, the list of documents out here in British Columbia, BC is called the Strata Documents. And there's about a half a dozen Strata documents we want to take a look at when we're making an offer and just double check that we have all the key intel on that unit and building. The first one is what's called the Form B document. I call it the passport. Very important document because it gives you the parking lot number, storage locker number. It tells you how much money is in the Strata's savings account. It's called their contingency reserve fund. We want to get a look at that Form B. Form B is also important because it has a series of yes or no questions on there. For example, is this Strata being sued? Is it being sued? We want to know that, right? I remember one case where I learned that there was, I guess a janitor had fallen, he had hurt himself, I think he broke his arm, and so he was suing the Strata for injury and for compensation. It didn't amount to that much, but it's just good to know these things ahead of time. So that's called the Form B document, the passport, and that's the single most important document. You never ever purchase without looking at that document. Second, registered Strata Plan. Now this is literally like the drawing of the building that's registered at Land Titles Office. Very important that you get a copy of this. I like to get a copy of this before I actually write the offer for my clients. Now, sometimes the seller's agent doesn't have that on hand. So you can sometimes there's other ways I can get a copy of this. The reason why we want to have that is because the official square meter of the unit is on that plan, and we want to translate that, convert that into square feet so that we can compare that with what's on the MLS listing, right, that the seller's agent is advertising. And sometimes they're different. Sometimes most of the time it's a mistake, or the seller's agent is listening to the seller telling them how big the unit is. No, that's not good enough. We need to have the official Strata Plan, and that's how you do that. Okay, very important. Think about this. If you bought a suite and then you found out later it was actually 100 square feet smaller than the size. Well, you know that a lot of buyers in Vancouver pay $1,000 per square foot. Now you find out it's 100 square feet smaller. I mean, that's money you've lost, right? So we've got to have that document. Third, bylaws. If you've got, let's say this one really depends on your life plans. If you know you're going to live there for 3 or 4 years and you might relocate to Seattle for work, and you want to hold on to the unit, rent it out while you're in Seattle, okay, well, we need to just double check that rentals are allowed and that there's no cap on the number of rentals. So this is why we check that. Same thing for pets. Pretty easy to find out if 1 pet, 2 pets, no pets is allowed, but also we want to check, what are the weight restrictions on a dog? Some stratas say 35 pounds maximum for Rover. Okay, so we got to know that ahead of time. Okay, moving along. Minutes. Minutes are kind of like the diary for the Strata. This is the best example is a diary, and you can see what kind of issues the Strata owners have with themselves and with the building. So something I typically would read a couple of years ago was, there was 1 or 2 illegal rentals, Airbnb, on the 3rd floor, for example. And, the Strata was trying to get that owner to stop Airbnb-ing it. So you might read about something like that. But also, if the Strata has an issue with their roof, it's leaking into the penthouse, into the other penthouse, you can read about it there. And so so that we know. Now, in addition to meeting minutes, you also have AGM, what's called Annual General Meeting Minutes, once a year, and this is where the Strata will propose any changes to the bylaws, and secondly, this is where they propose any big spending for you that you'd need to pay for, right? So we see that. So if they're thinking of changing the roof, changing the elevator, the windows, and they propose these changes to the owners, it will be at the AGM. So it's going to be in those AGM minutes. So that's why it's the single most important section of minutes that we want to get our hands on and that we want to read over, okay? Think about this. If they propose changing the elevators and the owners voted it down because they didn't get enough support for it, and then you know that they're most likely going to propose it 1 or 2 years later. And now you as the new owner will be responsible for paying for that. And you might have to pay $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. So you just want to be ready for these things. As your real estate agent, I'm helping my clients through this. So there's really no surprises for my clients. But anyway, if you're doing this on your own, you need to be aware of this. Okay, moving along, the depreciation report. Depreciation report is a great document to get your hands on. I would suggest that if a Strata does not have a depreciation report, it's actually going to bring the value of their building down a little bit. Some buyers I've found in the past have trouble getting financing because the bank will ask for that document. And if the Strata doesn't have one, it can be an issue. And just to be clear, the depreciation report is a timeline of fixes to the building. That's as easy as I can put it. So you might pick up a depreciation report today and it says 5 years from now that they recommend replacing the roof. 10 years from now, they recommend replacing the windows. And so you have an idea of how much of your own money and the Strata's money would go towards that. And now a couple of things on a depreciation report. Just because it says 5 years from now, they're going to rechange the roof, it doesn't mean that they have to do it then, right? If the roof is in good condition, it might last another 10 years. So you got to understand that, okay? I think a lot of the engineers that write those reports are writing them with specific guidelines, meaning, roof has to be replaced every 25 years. The windows have to be replaced every 35 years. And it's not that precise, okay? There's 3, 4, 5 years either way. Depends on the condition, okay? And I think those are the key parts of a depreciation report. If you reach out to me, there's a couple sections in there I can point you towards that really help. And if you're wondering, why do we even have depreciation reports? What I would tell you is a number of years ago, back in the late 90s, people would buy into a condo in downtown Vancouver, and all of a sudden, whack, they'd get hit by this levy, a special assessment where you pay money to let's say fix an elevator that's down, and they were surprised by it. They didn't know it was coming. And so the province about 7-8 years ago, they mandated that these depreciation reports be done. Now, as a Strata, the condo, the Strata Association, will not do it every year. Once every 5 years is more than enough. Any more than that is overkill. So just keep that in mind. And a 5-year-old depreciation report is more than enough. Okay, moving along. Last key document here to get is what's called the Strata insurance policy. And obviously that's been in the news a lot with the Strata insurance going up. And that's passed along to all the individual owners. So your maintenance fees have probably been rising by 10 to 15% this year. And so what I do for my clients is I just pull out that insurance document and send it to their insurance broker so they can get a quick quote before subject removal, before the purchase becomes firm, so they know how much that they have to pay towards the insurance. So just things to know and things to keep in mind. So that's Strata Documents Explained. Those are the key documents you want to be aware of. If you've got any questions about that, feel free to reach out to us or drop a comment. At the very least, give us a like. Thank you very much and have a great day.